What's going on, YouTube? This is going to be a humble 5.56 AK collection, kind of just overview. I just thought it'd be something fun to fuck around with. This is my Zastava M85. This is one of the early imports from Century Arms, the M85 PV. Had this for quite some time, and when I first bought this gun from J&G Sales, they had a deal going, and the deal was you could get, obviously your like R4 style magazine, and then you had the option of getting like 20 or maybe it was 10 of the Tapco Galil mags, or you get 20 of these little bitches. And so I opted for the steel because at the time I was all about just steel magazines and shit. And so I really lucked out. These little bastards are a little bit harder to find. You'll find them on Gunbroker from time to time, but I got about 20 of them, and I actually only used probably maybe 3. So the rest are greased up and in storage. But for the most part, these things are really handy when you're shooting off of a bench, or if you're in a magazine restricted state. I don't know if from the factory they went ahead and just cut these off and did that, or if these are dedicated stamped shorter magazines, but they do come in really handy. Next up, we got the Zastava steel magazines, and these are a little bit pricey, but again, when everybody was not into AKs before Magpul kind of revived the market, J&G Sales couldn't give these away, and so I bought about 40 or 50 of them at about $7.95 a piece. And so I really lucked out. I jumped that gun, and I've had that M85 ever since. And so I was elated when I saw that Zastava was coming out with the M90. So now I can actually put these to use. The only downside is some of the springs on here are a little shitty. And sometimes the followers, because they are metal and they kind of wiggle around a little bit, sometimes you have a last round issue. But other than that, these just look really sexy in the M85 and M90. Next to it, I got the Zastava polymer mag. There's nothing wrong with these. These are actually really well built. They're pretty darn tough. They don't squish in too easy. They got steel rear lug. They got metal feed lips. Aesthetically, I just don't like this little guy right here. The little kind of like rear tang thing that comes down behind the floor plate. I just think that's a little cheesy. I also don't like the big bulbous polymer floor plate. So I haven't really invested in these. This is actually the only one I got. This mag, this is fucking fantastic. These are the 5.56 mags from PSA, Palmetto State Armory, and I actually wish they came out with more colors because this is fucking sick. I actually am a huge fan of their 7.62 by 39 magazines. Again, very stout body. It's got steel in the front and the rear, a little bit of a spine. It's also got metal feed lips. These run about $24, $25. These are fucking phenomenal. If you're trying to bulk up a massive mag supply, these are not a bad option to have. They're about half the price of the Circle 10s, but they are every bit as good, and I'll put money on that. These are fantastic. Next to it, I think this is WPB or WBP, one of the Polish 5.56 AK mags, just a cheapy plastic mag, nothing bad. It's a little tight to fit into the M85 and M90, but it works. Next to it is what came with the pistol, and I suspect these are like the R4 style of magazines. This is by far the cheapest feeling motherfucker. It's got just thin little plastic rear tab here, very squishy, not great, and that is why I have retired this, and it is in the collection bin just because, it'll work, but it is as cheap as you could possibly get. It almost feels disposable. Next to it, just because it's in the Galil line, is a modified Galil magazine, and basically you can get these to work by just adding a little bit of material to the end here, and you kind of have to file it down a little bit and get it to work. As you note, my little blue tape here says trim front lug, so this one's not good to go because it sits up really high and actually get the bolt riding over and smashing the top round. So I got to adjust this to get it seat a little bit lower so the bolt rides over and feeds and doesn't mash into that top round, and that's regardless of how many are in there. Next to that is going to be the, not next to it, but across the way is a 5.45 Bakelite mag. I just wanted one of these because you can swap the follower out with a 5.56 Pod Arms follower. There's also a couple of other folks who make 5.56 followers for these guys. Now, these guys will fit pretty well inside of the M85s because they're designed with a little bit larger mag well. My M90 does not like this at all. It is very hard to seat it. It doesn't want to lock up because the top ridge of the feed lips there really bash into those rails, and so it's not just a follower issue. It's like the geometry of this doesn't want to fit in the M90. I also had to have my M90's mag well sent back to Zastava and have them kind of hog it out so that I could actually run my factory magazine. So that was on them, but apparently that's a pretty common issue. Next to that guy is a shitty little Pro Mag 556 AK mag. These, believe it or not, are not that shitty. They are really tight to get in the M90 and M85, but they're okay, and they're very reminiscent, as you can see here, with the bent metal in the front and the rear. They do have metal feed lips, so I guess that's kind of cool, but it's very thin sheet metal. This feels much more robust than the shitty R4 style of magazine. I like the texturing on the outside. It's pretty cool, but these hover in the same price range as these guys over there. So unless these were like $8, I don't think I would actually pick up a whole lot of these. Plus it's Pro Mag, so it's always going to have that cursed name. Next to that one is the 100 series style of 556 AK mag. These are fucking sick. It's got this alloy magnesium kind of mix for the rear tab. It doesn't have reinforced lips, but it also has a reinforced front lip there for the front lug. Kind of cool little angled floor plate. These look pretty darn slick in the M85 and M90. They feed really well as well. I've taken this one and then the other 556 AK mag, but these are from AC Unity. These can be had on a lot of different websites. They hover around, I don't know, 16, 17 bucks. So they're a teeny bit pricey, but not too bad. Honestly, I would buy this guy first. It's only the difference of a couple bucks over this one, but these are still pretty cool, affordable option. These are by far I'd say by far like the industry standard. These are the AC Unity. I don't know what generation. I don't know if it's the first gen or if they've updated them all, but very slick. I like how square the floor plate is. It just fits right in there. Again, that weird magnesium alloy front and rear lug, which gives you a little bit more robustness than some of the just all polymers like on this guy. And these feed and fit very well in both the M90 and M85. They're like the perfect geometry. They work really darn well. And then next to that, I just have a still in packaged clear version of this guy, and the only reason I'm leaving it in there is I don't plan on shooting that guy. That's just for my collection is all. So when I have my my whole AK magazine wall set up one of these days, I'll have these on display. I still have to get quite a few of the Circle 10s, even though they don't supposedly quite feed and fit as well in the M90s and M85s. I still want to pick them up because they have a few different color options that I don't have. And then I'm also hunting for that elusive 60 rounder of the 545 Bakelite. So that's kind of my white whale right now, is one of those elongated versions of that. But anyhow, yeah, this is kind of the little 556 AK collection that I got going on. I've kind of put it on pause for right now, but I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of that other stuff here once I finish some of my other projects. Next is the M85 itself. So this guy, again, got it before the market had any kind of Yugo style of parts. It was Midwest Industries and then US Machine Gun, and that was about it. I had to actually wait on the 4-piece Fosh hider until they had the right threads for these guys. And I tell you, if you own the M92 or M85, get yourself one of those. It's a $90 investment, but I tell you, it is going to diminish a tremendous amount of the flash, and especially on the 5.56 guns. Holy shit, like that is worth its value. It should be like a $100 or $200 part with how well made those are. I purchased the forearm from Midwest Industries before M-Lock was really, the standard. So between Keymod and M-Lock, I went with this. One, price point, but two, there was a lot of Keymod accessories on the market. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. Got the Midwest Industry rails, really good grip on them, but they do stick out, and you actually can only run these on the side. If you run it on the bottom, the lips of these kind of catch on your fingers and catch on gear and stuff. So it's really only utilized for the sides, and I'm eventually going to take those bitches off and then go with a smoother little rail cover down there. And then I'm rocking the angled foregrip simply because I had it laying around and I didn't have a use for it. So this just that's why it's on there. I'm not a huge fan of these, but since I already had it from a long time ago project, went ahead and mounted it. Up top is a little Crimson's Trace red dot. They're really, really cheap. They're made in China, but it works okay because I'm not beating the shit out of this pistol. and I'm just plinking at targets downrange. So it works well for what it is. And these will go on sale for like, sometimes down to $20 or $30, but they are incredibly cheap. And I cannot tell you how many rounds I've had with that on there. It's pretty minimal. I want to say maybe 3 magazines worth. So it's held up okay so far, but I really don't think it's going to be a long-term kind of thing, optic on top of this guy. And then hopping down, as I mentioned before, this is the U.S. machine gun little adapter for the M85 and M92 style of pistols. I believe this will also work on like your Dracos and things like that. Basically what it does is it just gives you an attachment point here for the folding mechanism. You will notice that when you mount this, there's again, this is when these first came out. There's better mounting options now. So you'll notice there's a little bit of a gap here with the pistol grip and then the trigger guard, but again, you don't really notice it when you're firing. I could always add material there one of these days, but it's nothing I'm super keen on now. And then lastly, little just standard buffer tube with one of the Gen 2 or 2.0 shockwave blades. They actually, as of 2 months ago or 1 month ago, they have shortened versions on KAK Industries. They also have shorter buffer tubes. And if you have a setup like this where you're not necessarily dependent on that buffer system, it's a great way of making it a little bit shorter. You actually cut off about 1 or 2 inches, so it makes it even more compact. But a pretty slick setup, and that's something that just came out. Let's see here. I'm just utilizing the little QD cup areas with these angled little sling swivels here, again, just to kind of have, it's a thing that, it's like, if it's there, I gotta fill the void. So went ahead and added that. And again, I know that this looks pretty funky, but it works. It's nothing that is so intolerable when you're shooting it that you actually notice it. But again, these are pretty cool pistols. From time to time, guys get really bored of these. So you'll find them on forums or at pawn shops because they just don't know what to do with them. But I tell you, you talk about a very high quality 5.56 AK pistol. This thing is it. And now that there's a fresh supply of various magazines, you can actually run these pretty damn well. Accuracy wise, pretty darn good. Even better if you have a better optics mount and a better optic. But I'm not a huge fan of guys drilling through the receiver or popping the little rivets here with a top cover. I realize there's other optic mounting options. I just want to keep this kind of as factory as possible and just have bolt-on parts. But overall, pretty goddamn cool setup, in my opinion, and very humble 5.56 AK collection. Again, there's a lot more 5.56 AKs out there. Some don't work with these, like apparently some of the Norinco ones, but I got a hookup here in where I live on the forum, and I'm going to go ahead and link up with the guy and see if I can get one of the Norinco mags to fit, because he's got some 15 rounders, and I thought that'd be pretty fucking sick. So I'm probably going to pick up one of those. He's also got the elongated 30 rounders, but I have so many of these, it really doesn't make sense. So I don't think I'm going to pick those up, but a 15 rounder would be pretty damn cool. Pardon me. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. I don't check my channel often, as I say in every single video, but if I do happen to log on and upload a video and I see it, I'll try and reply. Other than that, thank you for watching and take care.